You don't lose power all at once. It erodes, quietly. Not with a collapse, but with a glance, a delayed decision, a poorly chosen word, a small display of need. And once it starts, it spreads. People look at you differently. They speak to you differently. They trust you less, respect you less, listen to you less, even if they don't say it out loud. Niccolò Machiavelli understood this better than anyone. To him, power wasn't about brute strength or moral purity. It was about perception, control, psychological leverage. And the moment you make certain mistakes, even just once, the illusion of strength begins to crack. The world, he said, does not forgive weakness, not the kind written in books, the kind you reveal without knowing. And once they see it, they can't unsee it. You might still speak with confidence, dress well, hold your position. But if you've exposed the wrong part of yourself at the wrong time, you're done. They'll smile, but they'll stop fearing you. They'll stop needing your approval. They'll stop protecting your name in rooms you're not in. Because power doesn't disappear in explosions. It slips away in whispers. In this video, we'll expose the 7 unforgivable mistakes that quietly announce your weakness. Mistakes Machiavelli warned against with surgical clarity. Not because they're loud, but because they're visible to the people who matter. People who are watching, judging, waiting. And when they see the slip, they don't attack. They just stop defending you. The first mistake, the one most people make without realizing it, is revealing emotion at the wrong time. Not because emotion is weak, but because the timing of its exposure reveals more than you intend. You speak up when you're offended. You defend yourself when you're misunderstood. You cry when you're overwhelmed. You express frustration, hoping someone will understand. But they don't. They don't hear your honesty. They smell your instability. And in that moment, what you thought was connection becomes vulnerability. Not the intimate kind, the exploitable kind. Machiavelli understood this perfectly. He wrote, "A man who lets himself be moved by compassion will soon find himself destroyed by those who are not." Because in the court of power, emotions aren't seen as human. They're seen as signals. Signals of weakness. Signals that your self-control is shaky, your mind penetrable, your reactions predictable. You think being expressive makes you relatable. It doesn't. It makes you easy to read. And if they can read you, they can play you. You think silence is passive. It's not. It's calculated. It's how powerful people absorb the room before deciding what mask to wear. When you reveal what angers you, you give away your leash. When you show what breaks you, you give them the hammer. When you share what you fear, you give them the script. And once people have your emotional blueprint, you're not negotiating with equals anymore. You're reacting. They're controlling. Machiavelli didn't suggest becoming a stone. He suggested becoming a fortress, capable of emotion, but impenetrable in expression. You feel everything, but you reveal nothing until it serves you. That's not coldness, that's strategy. And the moment you make this shift, the moment you stop giving away the inner map, the game changes. People lean in. They respect the mystery. They hesitate before pushing. Because they don't know what triggers you. They don't know how far you'll go. They don't know what you're hiding. And in the realm of power, ambiguity is control. The second unforgivable mistake is explaining yourself too much. You make a choice and immediately feel the need to justify it. You say no, then soften it. You set a boundary, then feel guilty and over-explain. You change direction and rush to give everyone the why. But here's the truth. Every time you explain yourself more than necessary, you reduce your power. Because the strongest moves are made in silence. Machiavelli understood the politics of presence. He believed that ambiguity was not a flaw, but a shield. He wrote, "It is better to be feared than loved, if you cannot be both." But he also knew, to be feared, they must not feel entitled to your reasons. When you explain yourself, what you're really doing is asking for permission. And every time you ask for permission, you tell people you don't fully own your choice. It's subtle, but power is built on subtlety. And when people feel your need to be understood, they sense hesitation, and hesitation smells like weakness. Strong people don't over-explain, not because they're arrogant, because they understand one thing: power is not just in what you say, it's in what you withhold. You owe no one your reasoning unless they've earned your vulnerability. And most haven't. Let your choices speak. Let your silence echo. Let people wonder. Mystery is not manipulation, it's insulation. Because the moment they feel entitled to your why, they begin to expect your surrender. They begin to question your leadership. They begin to feel bigger than your decisions. And when that happens, your influence doesn't disappear. It just gets quietly ignored. If you've ever felt the urge to over-explain, to defend your calm, your ambition, your distance, you're not alone. But what you need now isn't more validation. It's more inner alignment. And if that's what you're building, if these words feel like they're speaking for the part of you that's been quiet too long, subscribe. Intentionally. This path isn't for everyone, but it's probably for you. The fourth unforgivable mistake is trying too hard to appear powerful. You speak in absolutes. You dominate conversations. You make sure your success is seen, your status acknowledged, your presence noticed. You drop names, raise your tone, inflate your titles, not because you're confident, but because you're afraid of being ignored. And that's the tell. Real power is quiet. It doesn't need confirmation. It doesn't seek applause. It doesn't introduce itself with volume. Machiavelli warned against overplaying your strength. Because the moment people feel that your image matters more to you than your substance, they no longer respect you. They assess you. He wrote, "The wise man does at once what the fool does at last." Which means true influence doesn't require announcements. It moves without needing permission. But when you need to be seen as strong, all the time by everyone, you become exposed, transparent, predictable. And people start testing you, not because they don't fear you, but because they want to see how far your performance can stretch before it snaps. This is where the downfall begins. You become defensive, overreactive, terrified of looking wrong. You avoid mistakes, not because you want precision, but because you're protecting an image. And image is fragile. That's why Machiavelli valued unpredictability over dominance. Because dominance fades, but mystique, that lingers. True strength shows in what you don't say, in what you don't need to prove, in your ability to walk into a room without demanding attention and still command it. So if you want power, don't chase perception. Chase alignment. Let your actions reveal your strength, not your insecurity disguised as performance. Let others talk. Let others shine. Let others crave the spotlight. And while they burn their energy trying to be seen, you become undeniable by not needing to be obvious. The fifth unforgivable mistake is being too available. Always answering the call. Always replying instantly. Always showing up. Even when it costs you energy, time, peace. You think you're being dependable. But what you're actually doing is training people to see you as replaceable. Because in the realm of power, what is easy to access becomes easy to ignore. Machiavelli knew this. He understood that scarcity isn't manipulation, it's strategy. Because the more visible you are, the less mysterious you become. And when there's no mystery, there's no value. He wrote, "Men judge generally more by the eye than by the hand. People don't evaluate you based on your intentions. They judge based on what they see, how often you bend, how quickly you say yes, how little you protect your own time. And the more generous you are with your presence, the more entitled they become to your absence. Suddenly, your silence is offensive. Your delay is disrespect. Your boundary, betrayal. Because you've taught them to expect constant access. And here's the paradox. The more you give without discretion, the less they value what you give. This doesn't mean become cold. It means become deliberate. It means you don't say yes out of guilt. You don't show up out of fear. You don't abandon your own rhythm just to be seen as available. Powerful people don't just control what they say. They control where they are, when they respond, who gets access, and who gets silence. That's not cruelty. That's emotional economy. If you're always reachable, you're never missed. If you're always responsive, your absence holds no weight. And if your time, your space, your energy are always wide open, don't be surprised when no one treats them as sacred. So take space, not as punishment, but as preservation. Let them wonder where you are. Let your silence build tension. Let your absence remind them your presence was never guaranteed. Because in the game of respect, availability without boundaries isn't kindness. It's self-erasure. Power doesn't vanish in one big moment. It erodes silently, through patterns you think are harmless, moments you brush off, choices you excuse, habits you call just how I am. But Machiavelli knew better. He knew the empire falls before the gates break. It falls in the quiet rooms, in the whispers, in the small mistakes that no one corrects, because they've already stopped believing in you. The world doesn't confront weakness. It steps around it, silently, effortlessly. And by the time you realize it, you're no longer in the room where power is decided. That's what these 7 mistakes do. They make you forget what you are. They shrink you, not with force, with erosion. You over-explain. You react too quickly. You show too much. You prove too often. You stay too available. And suddenly, you're not respected. You're just tolerated. And that's how people lose power. Not through failure, through leakage. So ask yourself, which of these 7 mistakes are you still calling just being nice? Which of them have you normalized, while your influence quietly evaporates? Because power is not about domination. It's about restraint, elegance, timing, mystery, and most of all, control over yourself. If this video made you pause, even once, you're already in a different league than most. Subscribe, silently. Let them guess how you got this sharp. Don't explain. Don't announce. Just move smarter. And if you're ready to take it even deeper, go inward. Because sometimes, the person destroying your presence isn't out there. It's a pattern inside. In the next video, we'll expose the one psychological loop that silently destroys your self-respect and how Jung believed you could escape it.